everyone! So today well, first of all, welcome back to Spooky Book Club. Today we're going to be discussing and reviewing we had 2 books last month. One was optional, but we're going to be reviewing and discussing both books today. And I'm going to start with the one that was the main book. It was called The Witch of Halloween House by Jeff DeGordick. And then the optional book, the Hallowerotic, or the Hallowerotica, or whatever you want to call it, was called Spells in the Night by, who was that by? Bryn Hale. So if you're new here to the book review and discussion, just really quickly what I do is I do a quick review, kind of talk a little bit about the book, give a really quick summary, and then we jump into the discussion part, and the discussion part is with all of the spoilers. We do a full-on discussion portion where I kind of just rattle things off. I start somewhere. I do have notes that I go off of, but I kind of just see where it takes me as well, and we kind of just openly discuss things. And then down in the comment section, that's where we can kind of chit chat. You can let me know what you thought of the book, if you agree with anything, disagree with anything that maybe I missed, or that maybe your favorite parts, anything you want to talk about in the discussion. We kind of just all chit chat, respond to each other. I respond to you guys. So it's kind of just an open discussion down in the comments. So let's jump right into this. If you want to grab a snack and or a beverage, I have myself a little beverage in my spooky wine glass with my skeleton, Mr. Skeleton on it. By the way, I don't know what's happening with my voice today. I feel like I lost my voice a little bit. So we're sounding a little bit sassy and raspy, which is really perfect because I kind of want to read a couple of parts off of the Hallowerotica book that I highlighted. Some really cheesy parts. This is the situation we're dealing with today. Just a very deep, my voice is already kind of not raspy, but you know, I don't know, not deep, but kind of, and it's feeling extra today. All right, let's start with the Witch of Halloween House. That's what it's called, right? I don't know why I keep forgetting. That's definitely what it's called because I feel like that's a book about me. The Witch of Halloween House by Jeff DeGordick. That was the book for April, since we did a little halfway to Halloween action. All right, so The Witch of Halloween House kind of revolves around, I don't want to give away too much, but it was basically about, I think the description mentioned, basically people in the town start acting really strange, children start disappearing, and whenever the children disappear, there's a little gingerbread cookie that's left in their place or near or around the area they disappeared. So basically it's up to this brother-sister duo to, I don't want to go too much into detail because I really don't want to give any of it away, but it's basically up to them to figure out where the children are going and why people are acting weird. And then it takes place during Halloween or around Halloween. So this book, I have to say first and foremost, if you're kind of having that, like you're just, like you just really need to transport yourself to October, you're really just wanting it to be Halloween, you're really like spring and summer just getting you down a little bit. And you just really want, or maybe you just like feeling those magical vibes of fall and October and Halloween and all that stuff. I feel like this book was such a good book for that. It really transports you straight to Halloween time. And it has everything from jack-o'-lanterns to witches to spooky house to corn mazes, Halloween costumes, and all sorts of stuff, bats, a cauldron, just like so many different vibes that I was into it. I felt it. I was there. I was in October. There were parts in there that did get intense, that were on the spooky side, so this was indeed a spooky book. There were definitely elements where I was like, ooh, but it wasn't the type of scary book where it was really deep. So if you're looking for a really cerebral kind of horror book, this is not one of those. This is one of those kind of, if you're wanting a little bit of an escape, easy read experience when you don't really want to think too much. So like if you're going through finals or you've been really busy with work or your brain is just cluttered, it's not too much, it's not too long, it's not too detailed to where you get lost in characters and you don't know where the story's going, and then you know, you start thinking about other things while you're reading the book. It wasn't one of those books. So, and that's kind of just my general summary and review. So definitely check it out if you're wanting some Halloween vibes, or if you wanted to save this book until October and read it then, I think that would be great too. That's all I have to say about that. I hope I covered everything I wanted to cover with the review, but basically I recommend it if you like Halloween and you want to be in October right now, but it's actually just hot outside. All right, let's move on to the discussion. So if you haven't read the book yet, I'm gonna send you off. Unless you don't want to read the book, then you can hang out and discuss it with us. But if you do want to read it and you haven't read it yet, I'm gonna let you go so you don't hear any spoilers. So I'm gonna take a second, take a little sip of my beverage. We can start the discussion. All right, so what do we think of The Witch of Halloween House for halfway to Halloween month? I didn't really know what to expect, because sometimes you think you're getting a Halloween book and it's really just doesn't really encompass Halloween. It just mentions something on Halloween, or, you know, you never know what you're gonna get. Where I feel like with this, it was full on Halloween. It just screamed Halloween, the whole thing. So I don't know if you felt the same way, but I thought it was the perfect book for halfway to Halloween. All right, I don't know where I want to start. Let's start with the backstory maybe. The story about the boy that goes missing and the house catches on fire and the poor lady basically gets murdered by this town. We find out later it's Brett, which is just a whole other situation. But that whole part was so sad. Like, the woman seemed like more than anything, maybe she could have used a little help, like a little work on her house, or, you know, maybe a friend or something, you know? And then you have these townspeople who are just blaming her for this boy that goes missing, and then he ends up showing up. I mean, like, oh, I can't remember what he was chasing, like some sort of animal or something into the woods. And it's like, and that whole part was just sad. I get why, you know, a lot of horror books start with either something sad or like something scary or something that kind of tugs, you know, at your heartstrings a little bit, or gets you a little bit, or gets you, you know, all worked up and ready for the book, you know. And it definitely was effective. I was sad for her. All right, so after all that goes down and the curse starts kicking in, we're introduced to the family, you know, Carmen and Tommy and the dad, which I don't remember what his name was. Then at the same time, the town, like people in the town are starting to get a little strange. They're acting aggressive or zombie-like or a little bit of both. And this part, and I don't know if you felt this way, but this part kind of reminded me of Halloween Town. If you've seen Halloween Town, it's a Disney movie. I feel like a lot of people have seen it, or everyone basically at this point has seen it. But it reminded me of Halloween Town when people were kind of starting to act a little strange. We didn't get a skeleton cab driver, but it wasn't too far from that. So from there, I'm just gonna jump into some of the spooky parts that happened, because I don't know if I wanna do a play-by-play of the whole story. I feel like we did that last month, so I wanna kind of switch it up. So like my favorite spooky parts, basically anything with the witch. I was totally into the whole Wraith character with the black cape, when she was kind of following them down the street and they run into their house and lock the doors, and when they open the door, it's their dad and he has a gun and he's acting super weird. That whole part was really spooky, and any part with the Wraith in general just got me. I just love a good, if you've been here for a while, you know I love a good Wraith, a good spooky witch, or, you know, a spooky kind of hag character. Also, I really liked that the witch had magic. Like, you know, I think she would have been spooky enough on her own because she was kind of just this shadow. Just the way she would like glide around or whatever, it got me. But then she has magic. We see the magic, I think we see it for the first time in the cornfields, I believe. Totally forgetting, we're getting way too far ahead of ourselves with the cornfields, because that whole experience was that was one of the spookiest parts. Actually, I think that was, in my opinion, the spookiest part of the book was the whole trip to the corn maze or pumpkin patch. I was just so excited to be at a pumpkin patch. I was like, we are here, we're at the pumpkin patch. Like we're in real life at the pumpkin patch. And I was thinking about what you guys were thinking during this. I don't know. I just had this feeling that we were all excited to be at the pumpkin patch or something. I don't know. Anyway, we get to the pumpkin patch. Like, oh, I know what happened. It went dark. That's what happened. Oh, where Carmen was like, oh, we're fine because it's daylight, so I'm gonna look for my tools. And then all of a sudden, the witch comes out and the whole, like, turns the whole sky dark. That part was so good. I loved it. I loved every minute of that whole part of that book. All right, what else do I have here? And I literally said, not the corn maze. Like, Tommy is in the corn maze and he thinks he sees movement. And then the witch, she's got this green magic she sends out. And she's like trying to get him. And I don't know if anyone else was doing that, but when Tommy went into the corn maze, I was like, do not do it. Like, even before it went dark, I just knew something was going to happen in the corn maze. Nothing good ever comes out of a corn maze. But it was just a whole part that just, oh, all the Halloween vibes, all of the spooky vibes. And honestly, it made me want to go to a corn maze really bad. The jack-o'-lanterns with the weird faces that are kind of snapping at them. Sharp teeth or these weird smiles or making faces. And then the jack-o'-lanterns kind of become the witch's little minions or something. But they started dragging kids off. I loved all of that. Love it. You gotta let me know in the comments what you thought of the jack-o'-lanterns. I loved them. So then from there, I'm gonna kind of get into the ending as a whole. Normally, once we get to the ending, I don't really get that excited in books because I'm a backstory type of ghoul. Anyways, I enjoyed this ending because I felt like there was still a lot to kind of get through. Like, where are the kids? What's going on? Who's, like, at this point, Carmen and Stacy are not at all, like, they're completely counterproductive at this point because, but we kind of get into the church situation. Like, Vince drops the boys off at the church, and because they all think at that point that the witch and all the kids are at the church. I feel like it was kind of to throw everyone off, so I do think it was, it was, you know, effective in that way. At this point, Carmen and Stacy are not at all, like, they're completely counterproductive at this point because they both want to save their brothers, but they can't get along. Stacy mainly is getting in Carmen's way this whole time, which Stacy got on my last nerve. Let me know in the comments if you felt the same way. But I felt like she was like too busy trying to attack Carmen, and Carmen's like, dude, I'm just trying to save the world or this town. But anyways, we get to the Halloween house. And once again, we get the animated jack-o'-lantern situation, but they become like full-on bodies or like, you know, like get pieced together as these full-on forms, which once again was really cool. I enjoyed that whole part. All right, so once we're in the house, we have the witch starts, well, first of all, they go in, all this stuff starts happening, but the witch starts like transforming into a whole other, like, I could not figure out quite what was going on. Part of me was thinking, because we hadn't seen a werewolf yet in this Halloween book, that maybe part werewolf. But then at the same time, I was like, wait a minute. At the spidery legs, I was like picturing like spider legs and this long white hair. And then I was kind of like, wait a minute. I'm like putting myself in this book now. I'm vibing with this whole aesthetic. Let's do it. Let me know in the comments what you were imagining. Anyway, so then the witch's brew is another thing. Like the whole cauldron and the different colors and all of that. I was so into it. Yes, they had a cauldron. I was loving it. And I loved it. Like, I know everyone was battling and Carmen and the witch and there was this whole battle. And then I love that Tommy kind of snuck away and put in the garlic and the salt into the cauldron. And then when the witch went to go kind of regenerate or, you know, grow or whatever was happening, you know, she was basically poisoned, and then they, you know, went in with the dagger and all that kind of stuff. So I liked that whole ending part. But then you have Carmen, who's in the hospital, and Stacy comes to visit her, and in walks Vince, right? And this is an amazing part. I don't know if it was necessary, but it was awesome. So then Stacy goes up and straight up grabs Vince by the junk and leads him via junk out of the hospital room and shoves him out, and he like falls against the gurney, and it's a whole scene. Anyway, I did enjoy that part. The only thing that really, like, okay, so you know what, I always have to have a beef with some book, okay? So my beef with this book, when Brett admitted to burning down the house on accident, right? And then Tommy takes responsibility for it. And then his dad is like, oh, you know, you're a really good friend for doing that. In what world, man? You murdered this lady. Like, a woman is dead. that didn't do anything. She literally didn't do one thing. So you're telling me that Brett admitted to burning, like basically murdering this woman, and nothing's gonna happen. Like, I know you didn't mean to, but what do you think is gonna happen? Well, I didn't think they'd let it burn. Well, you caught the house on fire. You can't just like light your own house on fire and be like, I didn't know it was gonna burn. Whatever. Anyways, that's my only beef with it, was that ending was super strange. And then another strange thing about the ending is they were like, oh, and then the whole town forgot about it and they moved on, the end. So you're really gonna sit here and tell me that the entire town conveniently forgot? First of all, you murdered somebody. You watched a woman burn alive in her house. That alone in a small town is gonna live on forever. You know that that's gonna become a haunted attraction. Second of all, your kids disappeared. People start beating each other up. Which also, I feel like in a small town, a bus wreck alone or a fight on a bus would make front page news. You know what I mean? It's a small town. So you're telling me after all of this, and then this Mighty Morphin Power Ranger situation happens, and she morphs into a Spider Woman, and then has a cauldron, and then dies by drinking from a cauldron in these catacombs underneath the house. You're really gonna tell me that no one ever talked about it ever again? Whatever, we're moving on from this book because I gotta talk about Hallowerotica. All right, so Spells in the Night. I read both. I read Spells in the Night and Halloween Boo. And of the two, I preferred Halloween Boo, which I'll get into quickly at the end because I want to just briefly discuss it. Anyways, Spells in the Night. It was... Okay, I was having a really hard time reading, like, the flow of the book. Like, you know, just the way that the word choices and the sentence structures kind of threw me off in the beginning. Like, I had to kind of get a feel for the author's voice. There was something, like, the guy was cringeworthy. Rex, just, ugh. Like, he kept calling her sweetheart. It wasn't working for me. The sweetheart thing, no. The whole thing, I guess I shouldn't take it too seriously. It's Halloweenotica. The whole thing was very surface level. So I guess we shouldn't go too far into that in general. I wasn't as convinced when it comes to this love story as I was with Halloween Boo. Like, I wasn't as convinced with the connection, the chemistry situation. Like, I was at first. Like, I was really into the whole Halloween scene where she's dressed in a sheet and doesn't want to be there, and she trips over her sheet and falls into the arms of this guy. Like, I actually did kind of enjoy that part. But then the dude started calling her sweetheart, and you lost me there. I really struggled to get past the sweetheart thing. It just was so awkward. Like, I just didn't feel the chemistry. I didn't, like, even the sex scenes, I didn't think it was that hot. I wasn't like, yeah, you know, like, it was just like, ooh, you know. And then the trust issues that early into the relation, like, they don't even have a relationship. It's not even to the point of a one night stand, and there's trust issues. So it was just like a whole mess kind of situation. And then they changed each other's lives forever by just... So I figured I would read a couple of parts that were extra cheesy, just for funsies. Just a little game of popcorn with Hallowerotica. If we had an actual book club where we're all sitting in a circle, we would 100% read this out loud playing popcorn. If you know the game, you read like a paragraph and then you popcorn and then you call somebody else in the group. We would do it and it would be amazing, I feel like. Maybe we need to do like a Zoom with that or something. Okay, anyways, here we go. A rosy blush covers her face. Are you real? She steps back. I mean, I felt like this evening was bound to be a disappointment, and I'm having a hard time believing this is actually happening. I slip off the purple princely jacket. Underneath, a branded t-shirt for the security firm I work for stretches across my chest. You can touch and find out for yourself, Karen. She bites the side of she bites the side of her lip as... Hold on. She bites the side of her lip as her hand rises and she presses her hand into my pec. Oh, that's real. Her hand caresses my muscles and I fight pulling her to me. This is a baby deer. This is a baby deer, timid and careful, not a tigress ready to attack. And then she says, that's really real. Or maybe he said that. I don't know who's talking now. Slowly bring a hand up to her neck. And he says, and you're real too. She looks up, her hand now tracing a zigzag path over my chest. She says, really scared. And then he says, what scares you? I slip my arm around her waist, guiding her soft body against mine, and she lets me. She says, lots of things. Her soft breaths float over my face as her hand climbs to my neck. But right now, I'm more scared of what might not happen. And then he says, then let's make it happen, sweetheart. It's the sweetheart. Constantly calls her sweetheart. Here's another one. Okay, this one gets a little graphic, so if you have kiddos around, maybe skip over this part, or, okay, I'm gonna be really embarrassed reading this. Okay, ready? He lads his tongue over my nipple slowly and releases a sexy as hell rumble. I'm afraid when you start touching me, I'm going to lose it, and I don't want this to end. He lifts my chin. Karen. Under the moonlight, you cast a spell on me. I suck in a quick breath. The picture. What picture? The one in the library of the gazebo. That's what it says. His head tips. I didn't know that. Sure you didn't, Rex. I reach up and brush a hand over his face. I think this place is more magical than we know. I'm ready to bring the magic. If somebody said that to me, I swear to fucking God. No, excuse my language. I'm sorry. I warned about the kids, so I dropped the F-bomb. I'm ready to bring the magic, baby. He didn't say baby, but he might as well have said it. The sweetheart thing got me, but regardless, it was pure entertainment. Am I mad about reading Hallowerotica? Absolutely not. I had a blast reading it, even though I wasn't feeling the heat. Halloween Boo surprisingly got me a little bit. I don't know if anyone else, I was like, whoa, hey. I mean, the chemistry with Halloween Boo I thought was there. With Spells in the Night, I wasn't feeling the chemistry as much, even though it was an enjoyable read and I thoroughly enjoyed the entertainment quality. Halloween Boo did it for me more. Like, I felt the chemistry and the heated scenes were very heated. And the story was really good. All right, so that is it for the book discussion and review for April. So yeah, we're moving on to May. So May's book club, like book announcements, selections should already be up. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up. Say hey ghoul hey down in the comments because you know I love talking to you. Also, let me know down in the comments anything you felt, all your feels about these books this month. Any of the ones that were, I mean, pretty much all of them. If you read all of them, let's talk about all of them in the comments. Even if you wanted to talk about Halloween Boo or what was the other one? Autumn Crow, because I feel like we're just doing all the books this month. So anyways, thank you so much for watching and I will see you guys next time.